Okay. So, hello and good evening, and welcome all of you. This is introductory lecture oblique seminar in which we are going to introduce ideas about medical research. This is, of course, for students of Quest, that is you, the who have been in batch of 2023 Mumbai or Pune and 2024 Mumbai or Pune. So at the first, at the outset, I would like to welcome all of you. It's a good participation actually. I think I should have tried the online mode way back. इससे पहले जितने होते थे classroom में होते थे. So the numbers are definitely good. I hope you stay through the introductory talk till the end. Now, what is my idea in this seminar is I want to introduce the basics, very basic ideas, layout of what you as a medical student should know when you think of research. There are going to be amongst you, I assume, two kind of large group of students. One group of student who has heard about research, who has interest in research, but hasn't gone any beyond that. मतलब आपको लगता है कि आपको रिसर्च करना है, आपने अपने तरफ से कोशिश की है, you have read some ideas, you have heard about it from your seniors or from your professors that research is good, but you do not know what to do about it, right? That's one group. If you are there, you're welcome. This talk is for you. But there are also amongst you right now students who have done some amount of research on your own. You have probably participated in an ICMR project or you have written some papers. Some of you might be very advanced. Some of you would have started the journey and know a significant amount of how to present a paper or how do you write a paper or advanced things like that. Even for you, I believe that there are things which can be refined and there is a lot that can be learned through this process, right? So what happens typically for those of us who are in the advanced stage is a lot of hodgepodge exists. मतलब पता तो है but एक streamline तरीके से नहीं आया. So we have learned ad hoc, we have learned on the go, we have not really learned in a structured manner. So what I intend to do and what we intend to do at Quest in the next 1 month or so is to offer these workshops where both these groups achieve a certain level of kind of improvement in where they are today. Those who are at the beginner levels should be in a position where you start seriously considering that you should publish and you know how to do that. Those of you who have already been publishing, start refining your art and start understanding your work and seeing more opportunities of what can be done in research, right? That's the idea behind this entire workshop. And in this seminar, I'm going to lay an introduction to what is to come in the weeks to follow. At the outset, of course, the question is, why do I care? I mean, what does it matter? Research करूंगा तो ऐसे भी क्या ही हो जाएगा? So again, those of you are in the advanced stage as well as in the early stage have some ideas as to why you want to do research. But back in the day when I was a student of your age, I don't think I was thinking of research. I knew मुझे research के बारे में कुछ interest हो सकता है, but it wasn't my primary thought कि मुझे research करना है. Also, when I started doing my residency, I actually lost interest in research. I lost that interest quite early on in my career. I thought कि नहीं ये सब ठीक है ये जो लोग कर रहे हैं, but this is not really what is the interest of me. I think it's very dry and boring. That is what my initial understanding of research was. Till something happened. Till one of the days when I was presenting a case in my residency days की बात कर रहा हूँ. I was asked by the consultant ki, why is it that you're saying so? Why do you think your patient has so and so diagnosis or so and so, whatever that I was telling the consultant. And I said with all my glorious understanding of medicine कि ये तो Harrison में लिखा है. So that is why I say so. To which my consultant asked me, Harrison कौन है? No, I was a little shocked कि ये क्या बोल रहे हैं? What do you mean by Harrison कौन है? And I was about to blurt out things which thankfully I didn't. Ki Harrison ye hota hai, wo hota hai, and I've read Harrison's. The consultant said, "See, Harrison's is a book which summarizes good research. It's done it quite well, but Harrison isn't doing the research. तो किसी ने तो ढूंढा होगा. भगवान ने थोड़ी बताया. Harrison is not someone who is telling you anything de novo. It is done. Someone else's work has been done, and that is what Harrison is summarizing for you. It was something that kind of till that moment I had not realized it. I had not realized it so clearly that well, I think reading Harrison is a good job, but I have not realized that that itself is me reading through many other people's work. So what if I go to the source? What if I can start reading that and understanding that? Now that was a big change. That was a big change in how I saw research because no longer was research that dry thing जो पढ़ना होता है और करना होता है because thesis थी. but it started becoming something which I can use in my day-to-day work. If I can read Harrison's, and I used to, why can't I go further and read the research papers and make sense out of it? Why can't I go and see the source where this knowledge is being generated? If you want to go to that source, you need to learn the language of that source, and the language of that source is of research, the language of biostatistics, the language of study designs, and so on and so forth. So once you start understanding that this is what matters, your critical analysis, your ability to think through, your ability to dissect out, this is correct and this is not, this is really happening and this is by chance, this is how I interpret my work, this is how I interpret all the tests that come in front of me. It's completely new world that opens up when you realize that research is your everyday. It's not something that you do once in a while. It's not something that you just do and publish, but research is something which has implications in our day-to-day practice. One more thing that really caught my eye way back during residency is when I was once given an article to present, I mean rather a seminar to present. I was given a work to present on snake bite. Again, when I started doing that work, I thought, ठीक है, snake bite में ऐसे ही क्या बोलूँगा, trials पढ़ेंगे थोड़े बहुत and present कर देंगे. And when I started doing that, I realized there are not many trials on it. And then exclusively, you could say the trials were almost exclusively coming from India, and a lot of work was done by someone whom I think most of you have heard about, Dr. Himatrao Bavaskar. Bavaskar sir is a legend in snakebite and scorpio bite. His work is a legend. But my first introduction to his work was because I was given a seminar way back. And when I started reading his work and when I started reading about him eventually, it's such an amazing work that he has done. Coming and working from a situation which is very, very at the best resource constrained, he has some amazing publications. He has done some work which is changing. And today you want to treat scorpio bite, you will follow his protocol. You want to read anything on snake bite, you will read his work. Whichever guidelines that you pick up, India se kuch bhi quote ho raha hai, to unka quote ho raha hai. And if you see where he works from his house. I mean, his hospital and his house is the same place actually in Mahad. So coming from a place which is not a tertiary care center, coming from a place which is not a medical college, someone who doesn't have residence under him to work, who doesn't work in a very posh place जहाँ पे बहुत कुछ चकाचौंध है, he's publishing something which is very high impact. And there are many such people in India who have published high impact, right? So when you start seeing these people, you realize that research isn't something which is limited to people who have some special skill sets or who have some special kind of availability of a statistician or availability of this and that. And increasingly, with artificial intelligence, with many other things around, I think it's much more easier now to do research if you want to do. So, with that kind of a background, here is what I feel I would want to lay out in the next few minutes. In the next few minutes, I would want to give you enough reasons to start accepting research as a part of your day-to-day understanding of medical world, as a part of your understanding of what science means to you, what being a medical student means to you, what your own education means to you, and trying to understand that usse how can you become a better student, a better learner, and excel in various dimensions, not just in that unidimensional कि मुझे पढ़ाई करके एक particular score लाना है, वो तो आप करोगे ही, right? I never doubt that, but I think that's not just the limit of what you can do. There can be much more you can achieve. And in the next few minutes, it's going to be my endeavor to try and show you opportunities which exist. And if you choose to pick up those opportunities, what can you do, right? And as I said, there are two groups listening to me. Some of you are at the beginner stage, some of you are at an advanced stage. And for both of you, what I'm going to say matters and applies. Right. So here is the layout of what I'm going to speak. I don't have any slides with me, but as always, I'm just going to write what my thoughts are. The most important questions, for learning anything are three. The questions are very simple, and I'm going to try and answer these questions. The first question, of course, is, let me just change my pen over here. Give me a minute. Okay. So there are three questions really, any time that you're trying to learn something new. The first question is, of course, why should I learn? The second question is, of course, what should I learn? And the third question is, how do I go about doing that? Right? My next few minutes are going to be dedicated to three simple questions, starting from the why. Why should you bother learning about research? I think there are absolutely three reasons I could say that why should you bother learning about research. One of the reasons which I'm sure most of you heard about is, before I answer that question, let me ask you, why do you think you should learn about research? What do you think people have told you? Why should you learn about research? In the chat box, please. I'd like to read your answers. What do you think? Why should you do research? Or why should you learn about research? It doesn't need to be that you are doing research, but why should you learn about research? Why are you here? Right? So please answer in the chat box. I would like to see your answers. It doesn't need to be a very elaborate answer. You could send me an answer in 1 or 2 words, and that's fine. But what are your answers? Why do research? I'm looking for your answers in the chat box. For thesis, okay, to get US residency, I agree. Anything else? There are a lot of you. So I close to 100 of you. So improve the resume. Okay, agree. Keep yourself updated. That's interesting. Yes. For knowledge and connect with a test. What is a test? I didn't get the test part. Latest. Oh, sorry. It's the latest. Okay. Yeah. For knowledge and to connect with the latest. For relevance in medical community. Fantastic. As medical students, we need to look for advanced methods of healthcare which might cure rarer diseases. Hence, research is important. Yes. So basically, generating new work to understand and present in conferences as a part of your career. I agree. Any other reasons? Why else would you want to understand or learn research? To change, to improve our judgment and critical thinking. I like that one. I like that one, critical thinking. To be recognized in the community, I agree. At this stage, it gives us more exposure to whatever we are doing in research. I agree. Out of curiosity, that's so interesting. Yes, to know about things. That's so brilliant. Yeah, out of curiosity is always the good thing to do. Evidence for current and new clinical practices. Yes. Innovation and development. I agree. Expanding your viewpoint. That's good. Look at your medical knowledge from a different perspective. Yes, you can do that as well. Like it happened to me. I changed a lot when I started understanding research. To explore the world, agreed. To contribute in the field, that's also, a very good purpose to understand research. To overcome barriers in our own setup, I agree. Yes, as I said, Dr. Bhavaskar's setup, if you see, you wouldn't realize how much he has published if you go and see his setup, and he's just brilliant, right? Tackle daily problems in clinical practice efficiently and in a unique way. Maybe yes, it will help you in that as well, right? So if you just go through what your friends are writing just now in the chat box, all of you can see the chat box, right? You realize that there are so many reasons why people would want to do research, right? There are so many reasons that people would want to do research. I would try to club them into few, right? One of the themes that is emerging very clearly from what all of you are writing, whether you write for US, whether you write for conferences, whether you write for resume, is that it builds your CV. Right? Without doubt, research adds to your CV. Matlab, देखो, I have said this in the classroom also that a lot of you eventually will be sitting in conferences. मजबूरी है, बचना तो पड़ेगा, आप जाओगे conferences को. But a lot of you will go to the conference and sit in the audience. Me also. I go to most of the conferences and sit in the audience, right? Some of you will be called upon to present. And when you will be called upon to present, देखो, Indian conferences, आज भी majority people who are called upon to present are basically just there because of, well, they are there because they are senior, or they are there because, well, they have done some work. But if you go to the international conferences, if you go to the big conferences, even in India, you will find most of the people who are called upon to present are there because of their work, and the world knows their work because their resume has a lot of publications. These publications build up their CV, right? Their CV is the way the world knows that these guys are there, they have achieved something because they have been doing a lot of research. That is definitely one of the important reasons to do this, right? But there is another important reason which all of you did highlight, and that was patient care. If you are someone who understands research, your ability to take care of your patients is definitely going to be better. Let me give you an example. There are a lot of times when patients come to us and ask us questions like, doctor, there is for in my case, rheumatology, people come and ask me questions, doctor, why is it that you are not, my rheumatoid factor has gone up? Why is it that I'm feeling better, but the rheumatoid factor has gone up? Well, there is research to back up saying that rheumatoid factor going up doesn't correlate with your clinical outcomes. I can say this statistically if I understand the research. Not only that, there are times when newer therapies come in. For example, one new drug came in, tofacitinib. I need to now read the research and understand who is the best candidate to give this drug. Who can I not give this drug? For example, it is a drug I'm not very comfortable giving to someone who is having a past history of MI in the recent past or something because there is data to suggest it could harm. Now, it's not an absolute harm. So I need to select that patient with my judgment, but the judgment has to be based on evidence, and that evidence is something I need to understand. So it does help me in patient care. Of course, some of you will go to a much more advanced stage, and not just patient care, but developing new drugs is also why you might want to be someone who understands research. But here is the topmost reason I feel all of us. देखो, आप में से कुछ लोग पब्लिश करोगे, आप में से बहुत सारे लोग पेशेंट केयर में हेल्प होगा, बट ऐसा रोज रोज नहीं होने वाला ना. आई मीन, यू थिंक ऑफ इट, योर पेशेंट केयर इज प्राइमरीली coming out of what you learned in textbook and wards. It's not like every day you see a rare case. Like someone said, I would want to treat a rare case, I need to understand research. But on a day-to-day basis, there is something which has to change in our aptitude, in our way of thinking. And that is, we have to make a shift from they say to I believe. Matlab, when you are undergraduate, you are always saying, oh, that book says so. This so and so professor said so. Quest mein humko bataya tha, XYZ class mein humko bataya tha. Someone said. Eventually, you will reach a stage when you are practicing and you will have to say to your patients and to your colleagues, I believe. Now, what do you put your belief on? Well, you put your belief on what you have learned from the past, but as you grow, you realize a lot of things that you learned on the past have to change. They are changing. Now, you can't keep on holding on to the past only. Your experience matters, but as you grow in your career, not just your experience, but how you integrate new knowledge in your understanding also matters. That is a very important point of aptitude. Are you someone who is empirical? Empirical का मतलब, are you someone जिसको एक बार लाइफ में आपने पढ़ लिया कि भाई एमआई में थ्रोम्बोलाइज XYZ करना होता है, तो आप जिंदगी भर वही करोगे? और आर यू समवन हु इज एविडेंस बेस्ड? Or still better, are you someone who is a critical thinker? I think what research opened up a gate for me, and the reason I would want you to learn, or really my personal reason at Quest, why I would want to teach this, and why I think most of us should learn it, is because it makes you a critical thinker. It allows you to start exploring medicine in a very different light. Let me give you an understanding of it. To one of the Mumbai batch yesterday, we were talking about stroke and its management, and I told you there is just one drug that can be used for management of stroke, thrombolysis, versus in case of MI, you have so many drugs which you can use. Now, interestingly, nobody in the batch actually asked me why. Some of you must be there right now. Nobody asked me, why is it that I can use only one drug for thrombolysis and now there are two for thrombolysis of stroke? And why is it that I can use all the possible drugs of thrombolysis, that is streptokinase, urokinase, etc., for thrombolysis of MI? Why only one drug for stroke? Well, the answer is there is no logic there. It's all coming from trials. Critical thinking helped us to understand that, oh, ये drug तो दोनों तरफ काम करता है. But a much more advanced critical thinking help you to understand what I often say at Quest: what came first, the cause or the effect? Well, effect comes first. We attach causes to it as we understand them. The rationales came much later. First, we saw the effects. ये shift in thinking है. ये critical thinking है, where you start looking for evidences and not just empirically believe in something and start doing it. Right? So, why use a single drug in management of stroke when you can use multiple drugs in management of MI? Because when I tried proving it in trials, only one drug seems to work. The rest do not seem to work. Now, I don't know why, but I can't breach that idea that only one does work in the trials. Right? So critical thinking is a very important part of how you will practice. Either you will be a dinosaur thinking कि मुझे जो आता है वही सही है, or you will be an advanced thinker who critically challenges every idea that is put across. So one of the big reasons why I think you should be learning this is to become a critical thinking. Now, how will you become a critical thinking thinker if you start understanding research? What would the workshop that is about to happen help you with? Well, one of the important parts of critical thinking, which research is going to be about, is generation of hypothesis. Now, I hope you understand what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is your idea. It's a thought that you want to present, right? You think, I think this will happen. Within hypothesis, now the framework is very clear. Within hypothesis, you can have various hypotheses. For example, you can have a null hypothesis. A null hypothesis is something that we are going to learn in detail, but null hypothesis is when you say that, okay, this is what will not happen. And if it happens, you prove it. So null hypothesis is kind of the opposite of your hypothesis, and your hypothesis is actually called the alternate hypothesis, right? So this is sometimes called HO and this is sometimes called HA. So we are going to learn how this happens. How do you generate a hypothesis? How do you come up with an idea ki this is what I want to prove, right? Within that, you can also try to prove different things. For example, there might be ways in which you might want to say, you know what, I think these drugs work. Let's say there are two drugs. There is a drug A and there is a drug B. Or let me rather change the names. Let me say there is a drug which is a older drug and there is a drug which is a newer drug. Now you can have different types of hypothesis. For example, you might want to give an hypothesis that, well, the newer drug is equal to the older drug. They are equivalent. You might want to say the newer drug is better, superior to the older drug. You might also want to sometimes say, oh, you know what, it might not be superior, it might be superior or equal to the newer drug, that it is, whatever happens, it is not inferior to the newer drug. Now, if these languages are confusing you, just hold on. When I have two drugs, the old and the new, I might sometimes want to say that they are same. I might sometimes want to say, well, this is better. But sometimes I might want to say, this is not inferior to the older. Critical thinking is about identifying how was the new drug shown to be effective. If you understand this, you start reading your trials better. You start realizing, oh, naya dawai aa gaya. Let me give an example. Naya dawai aa gaya. Warfarin has been around for a long time, and people launched NOAC, newer oral anticoagulants, dabigatran, rivaroxaban. Go back to the trials, and then you actually ask a question: have they really proven the hypothesis that the newer are better than warfarin? Or have they proven that the newer are not inferior to warfarin? They are just like warfarin. If they have proven that it is just like warfarin, look at the cost. Warfarin is costing you what, 5-10 rupees, and this is costing like 50 to 100 rupees. A huge difference in cost. And what do I really say? Well, I don't save anything. Is the adverse effect really very different? Well, we'll have to go into these. So this kind of thinking gives you a, channelizes your thoughts and gives you a way to understand how medicine is really being practiced. So I think one of the big reasons for me to understand research is to go into critical analysis, and one of the big parts of that critical analysis is hypothesis. Another part of critical analysis, and I'm speaking right now to those who have already entered into the doing the research part. How does your critical analysis work? You should be able to make a hypothesis. Second, you should be able to understand clinical trial designs. Very important part of understanding research is to understand clinical trial designs. Now, if I want to understand that a particular thing works, should I be saying it just because there was a case series कि किसी ने बहुत सारे publications कर दिए, कि बहुत सारे cases एक साथ publish कर दिए, or should I rely on it because there's a case control study, or there's a cohort study, or a randomized control study, or is this a question worthy enough of a meta-analysis or a systematic review? These are different types of trials. We'll see those trials as we go ahead in the next few months, next 1 month. But these trials will have certain application. For example, for a question like sarcoidosis, which is a rare condition, I might be happy saying कि sarcoidosis में XYZ complication of raised ICD किसको होता है? I have a case report of this, and I'm based on that case report I want to treat. But if I'm treating something like, let's say, ankylosing spondylitis, ankylosing spondylitis may use of tofacitinib, it's a new drug. But there are so many cases of ankylosing spondylitis, the drug is easily available. I would not treat because just someone in the world treated 2 patients. I would want a big trial. I would preferably want a randomized control trial for that. Critical thinking helps you to identify how was that evidence generated, what kind of a trial design was used to generate that evidence. So this is again a very important part of how you think. In textbooks, we don't really talk about this. We don't really say कि कौन से type का trial design था. But you will realize as we go ahead that this trial design is perhaps one of the Achilles heels. कि कैसे type का trial बनाया गया था is really something which I want to see when I'm reading it, and when I generate my own data. I also want to be very sure that my trial design was good, and of course I would want to learn how to analyze this data. I would want to be critical about how this data was analyzed, what kind of statistical tools were used for analysis of this data, right? So I repeat, when I'm thinking about why to do a particular understanding of research, I would want to understand research because, well, research gives you some amount of prestige, it gives you the ability to build your CV. If you understand research, you will be able to publish. Definitely, it will give you opportunities. So, I would actually want to tell you a little more about this CV building. Huh? Many people think that CV build होगा मतलब क्या होगा कि आप USMLE में अच्छा रेसिडेंसी मैच करोगे. So I agree that something like USMLE, this will be a good match, right? But I don't think that's all. I don't really think that those of you who want to stay back in India, many times students come and ask me, sir, मेरे को तो जाना ही नहीं है. I don't want to go to US. I don't want to build a CV because I want to kind of get an matching or get a match somewhere or get into a particular college. यहाँ पे तो कोई पूछ ही नहीं रहा है. I don't think that's true. If you see, if you start publishing, if you start presenting right now at the age where you are, and maybe in the next 3 years or so, by the time you're in the first year of residency, by the way, you can't start publishing in the first year of residency if you don't have any idea about how to publish. You'll probably wait for the second or third year to start publishing. More likely, you'll do it when you do your DM or MCH. So you will end up giving up almost 6 years just because nobody taught you or you never learned. But if you start doing it early, what are the opportunities that come your way? If you are someone who has published, it's not just the USMLE. ये तो एक बात है. But for those of you staying back in India, what do you really get if you publish? I think one of the thing that you get is a network. What do I mean by network? If you are someone who has been repeatedly publishing, or even if you publish once or twice, many of your seniors will identify you as potential candidates जिनके साथ काम करना चाहिए. So that network is something really amazing. It will be a very powerful thing to come your way. Some of the opportunities that will come from these networks are authorship. When I say authorship, I want you to kind of close your eyes and imagine in the next 2 years being someone who has written an author in one of the textbooks. Now, is that possible? And the answer is absolutely yes. I would also want you to kind of close your eyes and imagine for the next few minutes, the few seconds if you could, in the next few years, let's say you're doing residency, can you be a part of those writing guidelines for India? Well, my friends have been, I wasn't, but my friends have been those who are very good with research. They did get opportunities during residency. I'm talking about people doing their MD to be part of guideline process. I'm not saying this, I can promise you that. There would be opportunities that will come. But you realize this, opportunities आपके तरफ तब आएंगे जब आप काबिल थे कि भाई you had the capacity and you publishing tells the world this person has the capacity. This person understands research. This person is a critical and rational thinker. Let's get that opportunity to him. Right? So the more you publish, the more is your network going to acknowledge that. This is going to happen silently. Now, because this does not happen in a structured manner, many people think, ah, hoga hi nahi. Not true. In fact, he hoga or he amplify karega, ye compound karega. Over a period of time, if you start get into publications right now, the over a period of time, it might be small publications today, but they will have that snowball effect over a period of time. It will tell your network that boss, this person knows, you will definitely get chances like authorships. Not only that, as you become senior, your CV having a lot of publication is technically going to impact your practice. It is something which definitely will be monetized. Now, this is something that we don't think of as an undergraduate, and I don't even encourage that you should be thinking of that right away. But well, this is a truth. Many people think कि इसमें तो कुछ नहीं है, time जाता है, कुछ मिलता नहीं है. Not true. You becoming someone who is known in your work brings a lot of opportunities towards you. A lot of pharma will want to associate with it. Absolutely legally correct, right? I'm not talking anything unethical here. Ethically correct pharma will want to associate with you because you are someone who's known for publishing. You are someone who's known as a leader in that particular place. You will also get a lot of patients coming your way because you're known. For example, there's a friend of mine who has worked in a certain aspect of rheumatology. When I get stuck with cases, well, I tell them, go to him. This is the person who has worked the most, go to him. When I go to conferences, I have some questions of my cases. I know who has published. I will go to that person and ask for help, right? I will probably prefer my patients to go to them. So this is your network acknowledging that boss, you are someone who is really good, and those are also monetizing opportunities. Now again, don't be naive to think कि आपने आज publish किया कल लोग आपको पूछने आ रहे हैं. ऐसा नहीं होने वाला. आप आज से publish करना शुरू करो, तो there are opportunities coming your way. I repeat, my biggest reason why someone should think of research is to become a critical thinker. Of course, it will help you in patient care. For example, you'll know how to kind of use a new drug, when to use a new drug, when not to use a new drug. It will definitely add to your CV, but that's not just about Emily. It will also be about your network. Think of you becoming an author in a textbook, which is, by the way, quite straightforward, easy. If you're a good student, aspire that by the time you're second year of your residency in your medical residency, second year तक मैं किसी book में authorship लाऊंगा. This is not difficult. This is actually quite easy to do if you are someone who is serious, right? If you are serious and you're publishing right from early stages, you will definitely get chances. By the way, it's not just authorship. You will also be presenting at conferences. So presenting at conferences, someone had said, and that is absolutely possible, right? We saw just now some of our students presenting. I don't know if he's here right now, but that was also possible if you're someone who are building up your CV. That is also going to happen. So why to publish? I hope that gives you enough reasons. These are my reasons. You have seen, and you have also written down what were your reasons. Let me go to the second part of what I'm going to talk to you about. What do you need to know, right? What do I need to learn? Now, this is something where this workshop is going to work on, right? What are we going to do in this workshop, and what is it that you need to learn? How is it that you can achieve these targets? You want to become a critical thinker, you want to become someone who is known for your work, you want to be someone who is just good for your patients. Whatever are your reasons for entering into research, what is it that you need to know to become a good researcher? I think again, there are three things. The first thing you need to know is research methodology. The second thing you need to know is analysis of work. I'm just going to write this down so that I can write on this, right? And you need to learn how to do analysis of your research, right? Of your research or anybody else's research. And of course, the third thing that you need to know is scientific writing. So what is it that you need to learn? Now, why am I saying this? Some of you will take this journey ahead and come with me. You will be participating in the workshops that come in the future. Some of you might not want to go there, right? But if you are here today, if you're listening to this, I would want you to understand these three are the pillars. Work on these three pillars independently, or I'm going to tell you what comes in each of these pillars. Work on them independently or join us in the workshops. But whichever way that it goes for you, work on these three pillars, and then you will know how to go to the next step, right? So if wherever you are, if you might be at the beginning stage or you might be at an advanced stage, these are the three pillars. When I say methodology, when I say that you need to understand research methodology, what do I really mean by that? Well, there are a couple of things which will come under methodology. First and the foremost is to search the old literature search. This is something we will devote time in our workshop as well, that you need to search literature. ऐसा बहुत common होता है when I talk to medical students or even residents sometimes, that I tell them, okay, let's have this problem and let's search कि इस problem का क्या solution है. Let me give you an example. Let's say I want to know. I'm going to use examples from rheumatology for now because, well, it comes naturally to me right now. But again, we could use anything else. Let's say I want to know कि a patient having anterior uveitis because of HLA-B27 positivity, what are the drug options? If this is your question, where will you go to search? Will you go and search on Google? Well, most of us will do. But is that giving you a necessarily scientifically correct answer? Well, it is giving you something close. But if you're someone who's already coming from the medical background, that's not sufficient. That's maybe good for someone who is a non-medical layman person कि उन्होंने वो देख लिया और उनको लगा ये ठीक है. But as a resident, as a student, and tomorrow as a practitioner, you probably already know what Google is going to tell you. You want more depth in your answer. You want to know what percentage of patients में क्या होगा and किसने कुछ और try किया कि नहीं, whatever. When you want to do that, you will have to go to engines like PubMed. You might want to use further literature search engines beyond PubMed also. When you go to something like PubMed, how are you going to search that literature? That is itself a strategy, right? So if you learn that strategy, then your searches start becoming refined. You don't come back saying, oh, I read one trial which says that. No, no, no. You come back saying, I have so many trials, and out of these so many trials, these number of trials are of a particular design, this number of trials are of a particular design, and I think this is the best match for what I am searching for, right? So a literature search is a very important tool. Many a times students, when they begin their journey, don't realize how important this literature search is going to be. If you do not know how to search literature, you actually are going to try and reinvent the wheel. मतलब ऐसा हो सकता है कि आप कुछ जवाब ढूंढने चाहते हो. It doesn't need to be something that you want to do research on. It's something that you really genuinely have a question about your patient. It could also be something that you want to do research on. But if you don't know how to do literature search, if you don't know how to search, इसके पहले किसी ने ये सोचा है क्या, इसके पहले किसी ने ये किया है क्या, if you don't know how to search that, you end up thinking, oh, I'm the first one in the world who has that question. Oh, if I have thought about this, nobody has thought about it. There is no answer that exists. Well, that could just be a big bluff that you are making to yourself just because you did not know how to search. Right? You did not know how to retrieve data from the internet, from published literature work. Still worse, sometimes you might actually take up a paper which is actually a bad paper, right? And you just believe in it because you couldn't find anything else. So literature search becomes a very important part of methodology. Again, I'm going into what you need to know. You need to know literature search. Second thing, I have already mentioned about it, but it's a very important part of what you need to know in methodology. You need to understand the study designs. I've said this, understanding study designs helps you become a better critical thinker. Those of you who are in advanced stages, you already understand study designs. And if you do not understand study designs, if they are not like something that come naturally to you, spend time on this. Those of you who are in the initial stage of your journey about research, this is where most of my focus would be. If you are kind of participating in a workshop again, you will find me coming back to this idea again and again and again कि study design क्या था, वो डिजाइन के limitations क्या थे, क्या वो डिजाइन was the study designed and then eventually I'll say in analysis power to answer a particular question. For example, there are times when people come back and say, oh, I think I found this one trial according to which we can use this drug. And then when you go back into that trial, well, was it really a trial? Or was it someone just publishing what they have seen? Or was it just an observation? Or was it actually an intervention? These are questions. These are important questions because with every trial design, you will have different kind of biases. So to understand, is the data that is coming to you biased? Is it something which is not always true? Or is it something that you can rely on, right? Because आप जो भी समझोगे उससे आप पेशेंट में कुछ चेंजेस करोगे. Is it worth it? Is it something that data is really designed to answer? So understanding trial designs, very important, right? So study designs, very important part of methodology. Another important part of methodology is your data. Data कैसे collect करोगे? This is something that you will especially need when you're doing your own work. The data collection can be divided into quantitative data versus qualitative data, right? Again, we'll spend time understanding what are quantitative data and what are qualitative data. Simple example could be a quantitative data point would be something which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a qualitative data point could be a yes or a no, right? And again, you might want to blend in these ideas with your study design. So your methodology will help you to figure out what kind of a data are you looking for. Are you looking for what is the exact blood pressure of a patient and how much does that change by when I use a new antihypertensive drug? Or are you looking for how many of my patients were hypertensive? So is the patient hypertensive? Yes, no. Both are different questions. It's not the same as saying I have 10 people having blood pressure of 160 systolic, 20 people of 180 systolic, and maybe 15 people of 140 systolic, versus saying I have 90% of my patients are hypertensive. This is different kind of data. They are not the same. And I can't confuse our oranges and apples and take a decision. So if I have a question of giving this drug is going to help reduce the blood pressure, well, I need to see trials which have quantitative data. But if I am asking for questions like, oh, were hypertensive patients included in this trial? Well, I will say, okay, 10% hypertensive patients were included in this trial. So whatever that I want to conclude. So data, again, this is just an overview of it. But data needs to be looked into critically. What kind of data was collected? Was the data collection for a particular trial appropriate for the questions they were trying to answer? When you design your trial, are the questions that you're asking properly being answered by whatever data that you're trying to collect? And of course, an important part of methodology remains ethics. Was whatever being done ethically correct? Right? Very often this is not breach. This is people, the world, the medical literature world is very strict about it, that ethics should be followed. But when you are planning your own trial, Are you doing ethically correct designs? Is your work ethically correct? Do you know how to get it reviewed from an institute, the review board? Are you someone who understands what are the limitations of design or a question when it comes to ethics, right? This is usually not breach, not usually a problem. Once you are into the flow, you won't make mistakes here. But literature search, big area of problem. Design, big area of problem. Data collection, after some time becomes easy for a lot. But these two are areas which many people fault. The next part of understanding what you need to learn is you need to learn analysis. So let's pay our turn kind of due to this part of the story. How do you understand analysis? How do you understand analysis? Now, of course, without doubt, सबसे बड़ी बात within analysis is to understand biostats. The reason why many people are afraid of research is this one. Understanding research, analysis of any research requires you to have at least a minimum understanding of biostats. So here is what it is. I'm not a statistician. The other people who are going to teach you in this course, the other person I should introduce his name, is Dr. Sabyasachi Sen Gupta. He's a very dear senior of mine, a good friend, and he's an ophthalmologist with a lot of publications, and he's going to be the other mentor on this program with me. He's not here today. He has a huge amount of publications. I don't have huge amount of publications, but I'm someone who's more into the teaching part. I'm interested in the teaching part. But when it comes to biostatistics, none of us is a biostatistician. What we can offer you, and what I believe all of us, all medical students, all residents, all consultants should know, is applied biostats. You should know enough biostats that when you talk to a biostatistician, वो सर पकड़ के ना बैठे कि ये बोल क्या रहा है, ठीक है, that he has no clue about statistics. You should know enough stats that when you open up a paper, when you open up a trial, you should be able to make a sense out of what is that trial trying to say. Is the statistical tools, are the statistical tools being applied used correctly, or are they using these numbers just to bluff, which by the way is not uncommon, right? You can use numbers to bluff. And when you start doing your own work, you will realize how easy it is to bluff sometimes and get away, especially if you're in a low impact journal or if you're doing it in a very not very formal way, right? So am I relying on something, and is that something that I'm relying on worthy of being relied on? Or is it like someone has bluffed in a big way using statistics? So statistics is a language in itself. And we are going to spend a great amount of time working on statistics. We are going to be talking about statistics. For those of you who are into research, this is one field that you need to definitely look into. Beyond statistics, there are some of you, this is something that I think not everyone needs. You need to know tools of how to analyze work. For example, there are softwares like SPSS, there are softwares like SAS, or there are softwares like R. These are softwares which some of you might need to learn. We are not going to talk about this in the course that we are going to now design for you. This is not something that we are going to talk about, but some of you might be interested to do your own work. I would rather believe learn, understand enough statistics and go to and talk to a statistician. Some of you might want to do it on your own way. Right? Another part of analysis is interpretation of graphs and tables. Very important. This is so powerful. You must have heard me in the seminar where I was talking about how to read big books, and I told you one of the good part about big books are their graphs and tables. I mean it, because wo graphs and tables come from good published articles. Very often they are not usually made de novo, कोई अपने आप से नहीं बनाता author, वो कहीं और से उसको लेते हैं और source भी quote करते हैं. So when you learn how to read graphs and tables, and when you know how to make your own graphs and tables, not only is your own presentation skill going to become better when you start presenting your own work, but your ability to read will become much faster, and your ability to read the data in a tabulated format is going to be one very superpower that you need when you want to read fast and when you want to start understanding कि ये जो कुछ trial में किया गया वो सच था कि झूठ था. Right? When you want to know that question, you have to go to the data. So presenting that data, interpreting the presented data is all something that comes under analysis. Coming to the last part of what you need to know if you want to become better at research, you need to know scientific writing. Now, iske andar I will say there are many things, but what we will focus on is we'll give you an overview of what you need to know for manuscript writing. When you want to start writing for the first time, what do you need to know? Right? How do you start writing? Which journal do you apply for? What formats do you follow? So on and so forth. Right? How do you do the referencing of your article and so on and so forth? And another part which I will work on is poster presentation or paper presentations in conferences. Now, this is something I wanted to spend some time on talking to you, because my idea for this coming batch is that with time, I would want to present opportunities for our students to be able to present papers, write papers, and publish papers, and present posters in conferences. To begin with, we have started one, which was a good experience for me, and I should thank the students who were a part of it, because they were already quite motivated and they were already ahead in the graph. But I believe as we go ahead, more students will join in, and we will be giving those opportunities to all of you who will be doing this workshop to join us in the research projects that come our way. I'm not promising all of you will publish, but I am saying that if you are sincere enough and if you're going to spend time enough, from Quest, we will be providing you opportunities to come and publish. This is not a promise that you will publish, because there are many variables you have to understand. Publishing is not like मैंने पढ़ लिया तो हो गया. Publishing is a lot of work. You will have to sit meticulously. Some people simply can't take that much work and give up. But giving opportunities is something we will be trying our best at. But even if it doesn't come from Quest, even if you do not join this program this way, all of you should make an attempt to publish or present posters at conferences. That would really give you a good hang of how the world is to be in your future. आप जब president बनोगे, consultant बनोगे, क्या type की दुनिया मिलने वाली, कैसे type के लोग मिलने वाले, and that's just the experience of it. And plus the work that goes behind preparing that poster or paper will help you to learn a lot about that subject. So please spare some time trying this out. And those of you join in the program, you will learn how to do it. Those of you do not join the program, if you are already in this process, right, and if you need any help, feel free to reach out. So I repeat, what is it that you need to know? I think there are three basic things that you need to know. You need to know methodology, you need to know analysis, and you need to know scientific writing. All three of them, especially literature search, study design, biostats, and manuscript writing and poster presentation, is what will be the focus of our upcoming workshop, right? And the last part is, I said, why? इसकी बात कर ली. What? इसकी बात कर ली. Now let me turn my attention to the last part. How do you go about learning research, and what do you really do when you are trying to research, right? How do you up your game? Right? How do you up your game? How do you enter research? If you're starting from scratch, how do you get into research? Right? I think there are simple ways over here. The first way, I think, is you will have to start reading articles. Many students think that when I want to start doing research, मैं उठूंगा और research शुरू कर दूंगा. मेरे पास दो तीन बहुत धांसू ideas है, अब ये publish होगा. That's not how it works. Research, most of the research, I wouldn't say all, some of you will come up with landmark notes, right? But even to reach that landmark, there is going to be a tipping point. You'll have to cross that. Some of you might be born genius. I'm not talking about you. But rest of us, lesser mortals, well, you will not do landmark research as your first research. Very likely will not do it. Some of you, again, with all respect, you will do it, and my best wishes to you. But for most of us, that is not what's going to happen. So, what's going to happen is you will have to first read what has been done in the past. Critical analysis of the existing literature is absolutely must. So, if you ask me, Dr. Sushant, I want to start publishing my own work, how do I start? Well, my answer is very simple. First, read what has been already published. बिकॉज ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपको लगता है आपके पास धुआंधार आइडिया, बट वो आइडिया पे बहुत काम हो चुका है. Many people have already published on it. Then the world will ask, what problem did you solve by doing research? You spent time, you probably included patience into it, you probably spent money on it if you got funding for it, you went through all of this hassle and you proved something that the world already knows. Why reinvent the wheel? Why reinvent the wheel? So when you want to do research, without doubt, the first part of doing research, any new research, has to start with you reading articles and you reading existing research. This is called critical appraisal. Critical appraisal of existing research is a very underutilized tool, especially within medical circles in India. There are, of course, changes happening, but I feel at least medical student level pay, this is something that you should be watching on. What would we do when we start talking about reading articles? Well, we want to see which are the journals to reach out to. कहाँ से पढ़ना होता है? How do I identify कि ये journal सही है? जो कुछ हमने पिछले स्टेज में सीखा, what to do, वो हम यहाँ how to do में apply करेंगे. We'll start doing the applied biostats. We'll start doing applied biostats. We'll start looking at the methodology. तो हमने जो why में कहा था, what में कहा था, that will apply in how. How are we going to read articles? Well, we'll select journals, we'll see their applied biostats and applied methodology, and of course we'll use a good literature search, जो हमने पहले कहा था, right? So the first step is going to be reading articles. We are going to finish our kind of workshop on this note. My target, the promised target, is going to be that all students should be reasonably competent and confident कि आपको आना चाहिए और आपको लगना चाहिए कि आपको आता है to read an article. If you are given an article, you don't fumble and say, I don't understand what he's talking about. You actually sit, dissect it out, you understand what was the population, what was the intervention, what was the control, what was the outcome, what kind of biostats was used, why was a particular study design used, did they do the right job, or were they trying to cover up something, right? And maybe they're not trying to cover up, but what if they were, right? Can I trust this result? Can I say that this result is not by chance, but this is actually what would happen if I also do this intervention in my patients? You should be able to reach that. So when our workshop ends, a lot of our workshop is going to happen in an online format. But like this, there would be online recorded lectures, there would be online live interactions with me as well as live interactions with Dr. Sen Gupta. And when it ends, we are going to end in a classroom where you will be there, I will be there, and we will study an article. Those of you participate in Mumbai batch as well as in Pune batch will study the article and we'll try to dissect out the article and understand how do you critically analyze an article. So my absolute learning outcome for you all is that you should be able to read existing articles. If you want to do research, what are your opportunities? What are your opportunities for doing research? In one word, the answer is find mentors. How do I do research? Find mentors. Well, where will you find mentors? बहुत बार third year students कभी-कभी right at the beginning of quest students approach me third year में कभी-कभी final year में I'm interested in doing research. The why is very often not known to me, it's known to you. Why do you want to do research? Very often it is MLE, sometimes it could be something else. I want to do research because I'm interested, but I don't know where to start from. I've tried approaching my professors, but they don't seem to be responding, right? So the answer is very simple. Not easy to do, but it's very straightforward if you think of it. You need to find mentors. You need to be finding people who will give you those opportunities to do research. Why would they give you those opportunities? Here are a few things which I think mentors can help you with. One is ICMR projects. ICMR projects, ICMR keeps on announcing these projects, and a lot of you know about it. Those of you do not, read up about it. Some colleges have already established a trend where seniors tell juniors that अरे ICMR का project आता है, ऐसे करना होता है, वैसे करना, तो easily available information है. बहुत बार easily available information नहीं है, अगर आपके college में नहीं है, you will have to do some legwork to find this, right? But I think there is more than that what mentors can help you. ये ना थोड़ा सा cliched हो गया है, मतलब mentors also are tired कि अरे हर साल एक ICMR का प्रोजेक्ट कहाँ से लाके देंगे, ठीक है? But there are other things which you can really approach mentors for, and it can be something like a give and take, right? Your mentors are giving you opportunities, but you are lending help in that role. So what can you lend help in? You can lend help in manuscript writing. If you know it, अगर आपको आता ही नहीं तो आप कहाँ से करोगे? But if you know how to write a manuscript, you can actually tell your professors, Madam, Sir, do you have any pre-existing thesis which has not been written? And you'll be surprised, इतने सारे हैं. There are so many residents. By the time the resident actually publishes their puts out their thesis, they're in final year. अब final year में पढ़ाई करूँ कि publish करूँ? Many will do पढ़ाई, they will not do publication. By the time they get over of their final year, तब तक तो incentive ही चला जाता है. Some of them will do super specialty CET, some of them will leave that college and leave the town, और वो thesis वैसे ही धूल खाती पड़ी है. और ये MD लेवल पे, MS लेवल पे भी है, ये DM लेवल पे, MCH लेवल पे भी है कि बहुत सारे रिसर्च जो थीसिस में हुए थे वो एक्चुअल पब्लिकेशन में कन्वर्ट नहीं हुए. Not only that, there is a lot of data that the consultant has. See, consultant is the only constant thing in the unit. No, बाकी resident तो आ रहे जा रहे, तो consultant के पास बहुत सारा data होता है. Oh, last 5 years I have seen this happening. Oh, last 10 years I have seen this happening. There is data. Go take it and do something with it. They have data. They also have ideas. They also have access. They need someone who is sincere enough to work. And the operational word is sincere. Sincere. If you are someone who understands research and who is sincere enough, you can get opportunities to publish at an early stage in your life, to write manuscripts. Learn how to engage with manuscripts, how to write them. And once you know that trick, even if you know reasonable, बहुत आना चाहिए ऐसा भी नहीं है. Even if you know reasonable, go and offer it to your mentors that I want to publish the work that you have already done. See, there are two things. You don't need to say कि मैं अब आपके साथ बैठ के रिसर्च करूंगा. आप उनको कह रहे हो, सर मैडम आपने रिसर्च किया है ना, पब्लिश नहीं हुआ है, गिव मी द अपॉर्चुनिटी, आई विल पब्लिश, आई विल राइट इट फॉर यू, राइट, एंड आई विल डू द लेग वर्क. See, this is bypassing a lot of steps. Just the last step you enter, right? It saves a lot of your time. You might think, "अरे मैंने तो काम नहीं किया," but you would be surprised to see you have done the biggest help, because many people know how to work, they don't know how to publish, right? Learn that last leg, and you'll see you have a fun opportunity. And of course, the third one is what I think a lot of students do. They go and ask them, are there opportunities for new work, right? But I'm going to tell you a reason why many people don't get this new work. One, a lot of new work goes here ICMR के प्रोजेक्ट्स में. तो जो बच जाता है वो रेसिडेंट्स कर रहे हैं, और जो इंटरेस्टेड है वो खुद ही कर देंगे. आपके पास आने के लिए यू नीड टू बी समवन हु इज ट्रस्टवर्दी. आई वुड आर्ग्यू दैट डू दिस a lot, then you might get this a little, right? बहुत सारा manuscript writing करो लोगों के लिए, you will get opportunities to kind of do your own new research if you want to, right? Sometimes people go to consultants and they say, अच्छा तुम नया काम करना चाहते हो, ढूंढ के आओ क्या करना चाहते हो. And then students come to me asking कि सर ढूंढ क्या ने बोला है, अब क्या ढूंढना है मुझे. My idea is I want to do something in cardiology, I want to do something in neurology. And then I tell them, okay, whatever that you want to do, please go and do a critical appraisal of that टेरिटरी. मतलब आपको लगता है ना आपको कार्डियोलॉजी में काम करना है, पहले ढूंढो कार्डियोलॉजी में आपको जो लगता है उसके ऊपर क्या एग्जिस्ट करता है, उसको क्रिटिकली अप्रेज करो, एंड देन सर्च आउट व्हाट आर द एरियाज ऑफ अनसर्टेनिटी. What is it that the scientific community does not know? By now, if the scientific community already knows what you are going to prove, तो क्यों कर रहे हो? And no journal is interested in publishing it, and nobody is really interested in reading what you have said, because 10 बार बोल चुका है कोई उसको. What is the area of uncertainty? बिना critical appraisal के नहीं कर सकते. So reasons why people fumble at this new work, because they go there thinking कि मैं आ गया हूँ तो मुझे work मिलेगा. जबकि the thing is the work is saturated. वो ICMR में चला गया, जिसको करना है उसने खुद कर दिया है, और आपके पास कोई आइडियाज नहीं है, बिकॉज आपको लगता है कि आइडियाज खुद जनरेट करने होते. आइडियाज खुद नहीं जनरेट करने होते. मोस्ट ऑफ अस शुड नॉट. वी शुड बी डूइंग लिटरेचर रिव्यू, seeing where are the areas of uncertainty, and then going there saying, oh, this is something which is not known, let's design a trial around it, and then this is how we should do. तो अभी ऐसा बोलोगे तो कोई मना नहीं करेगा. Then they'll say, okay, okay, चलो चलो करते हैं, right? So this is something that we should be able to do at the end of this workshop, that you understand how to do this, right? Again, I'm not saying if you just listen to it once it will happen. Practice is important. And that is where it brings the third opportunity, which I would like to humbly present, and that is, of course, yours truly at Quest. This is what I would want to do over a period of time. People who are participating and learning with us, I would want to present two opportunities. One is that you are able to present posters, right? Poster presentation is a skill which is not that difficult as paper writing. It still requires the same set of knowledge, but the work is faster. And if you are presenting reasonable amount of posters, you should be able to write papers and submit them and see through their publications. What I would also want to do is help nurture student groups. With time, I would want students who are participating in our workshops to form groups and approach me and get research opportunities from me and other consultants that I can connect you to, and start publishing. So some of you have approached me in the past and I have connected you. I don't know if you're there right now or not. I have connected you to other consultants I know who are doing research, right? That can be amplified if I get students like-minded. कभी एक ही student जब आता है, it becomes very difficult. I'm telling you, from my point of view, if you come to me single saying, sir, madam, I want to do research, it's very difficult for me to give you an opportunity. I'll tell you why. Because I know you are going to be busy after some time. तुम्हारे पास आज टाइम है, तुम कल एग्जाम आ जाएगी, टर्म एंडिंग आ जाएगी, कहीं पे जाना है आ जाएगा, तुम्हारा इंटरेस्ट चला जाएगा यार. उसके बाद मेरे आइडिया का क्या? मैंने तुमको आइडिया दे दिया, इतना टाइम दिया, इतना समझाया, और उसके बाद उसका क्या? बट इफ यू कम इन अ ग्रुप ऑफ 4, well, I know there is something binding you together. All of you seem to have discussed your job and understood what you want to do. And I also know A might back out, rest might do. My ability to trust you, me, not necessarily me, Sushant Shinde or Quest, but a consultant that you're approaching, a mentor that you're approaching, his ability to trust you is amplified if you approach as a group, right? My idea at Quest is to help all of you to organize that way. Those of you will join the workshops, and you will see who people are there with you. You might not be from the same college, but if the frequency matches, if you are interested in working, I think that's a good opportunity where Quest can play a role. I've been, of course, seeing and talking to other consultants. There are many opportunities of manuscript writing that exist. We can channelize those opportunities and present them to our students. So with that, I'm going to kindly quickly recap what I've said till now, and then announce what is going to happen in the workshop. How can you enroll for it? Why do research? I think my top answer is critical analysis, become a critical thinker, sorry, of course, for patient care, and of course, for building your CV, getting the opportunities that the network has to offer to you. What do you need to learn? Those of you are in the advanced stage, you can also focus on these ideas. Those are in the early stages, you should definitely do this. Learn methodology, learn analysis, learn scientific writing. And last but not the least, how can you start doing research? Read articles, find mentors, and of course, be with us at Quest, and you can do it, right? So this is the thing that is coming up now. So those of you are wanting to join up the next program, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the link to the form in the group right now. Some of you are listening live, some of you might not be listening live. I'm going to put up the link in the group. Just hold on for a minute. So I'm putting up the link of the workshop registration. Those of you interested, of course, it's not like you need to fill it up right away, but think over it and fill it up over the next 1 week. And our program starts from 1st of August. So this is the outline of the program. The program is going to start from August 1st. It's going to complete, most of it is going to complete by 31st August. So end of August, the program chalega. A large part of it is going to be an online program. When I say it's going to be an online program, what I mean is there are going to be two parts. There are going to be recorded lectures, which you will see one by one. There will be modules that you'll have to complete, and there will be live lectures, online live, the one that we are right now having, something like that. These sessions will be conducted by two faculty members. One will be, of course, me, Dr. Sushant Shinde, and there would be Dr. Sen Gupta, who is who's an ophthalmologist. Again, as I said, he's a senior of mine, a very dear friend. He'll be conducting the other sessions, right? So there will be online sessions. Plus, along with the online sessions, there will be classroom sessions. These classroom sessions, of course, are going to be live, and the classroom session will come towards the end, where we will be looking at critical appraisal, which means we'll be seeing how to kind of break down a paper which has already been published and understand whether the work that has been done is correctly done or not. This is one large part of what I plan to do. The next part, that's the phase 2, starts after August gets over. This is where I would want to engage with students who have been part of this program over the next 1 year. I'm not talking about immediately. Over the next 1 year, whatever research opportunities that come to me, since I know that you are the students that I have taught, since I know that these are the students who have really understood what I talk of, and what are the wavelengths are matching. We understand the same. When I say p-value, you understand the same thing. When I say confidence interval, you understand the same thing. When I say research design, you understand the same thing that I am talking about. Then the research opportunities that come our way would, of course, be something I would want to share with you. This I would prefer should be done as groups, and we can, of course, do it as individuals, but the chance is very little unless you're a very motivated individual. Unlikely that I'm going to go for that. It is in groups that I would want to present opportunities. These opportunities largely will be of manuscript writing. That is the writing how a work that has already been done, how to write it. Mostly it will be this. Some of this might be original work. Original work is difficult to do. And again, I sit in the private sector. A lot of doctors who can give you opportunities are in private sector. So original work becomes little tricky because of the ethics part and rest of it. But manuscript writing is definitely possible and can give you a good edge when you begin. So with that, I'm going to end what I wanted to say. The price, yeah, this is going to be a charge program. This is not a part of the Quest lecture series. This is a different research workshop. The price for this program is going to be rupees 3,000, and this should be inclusive of what has been said above. And this is something that you need to enroll in the first 1 week before 1st of August is when you need to enroll for this. When you enroll for this, you need to fill up the form and then talk to our office. Talk to our office. Once you have filled up the form, of course, you will get a call back from us. Fill up the form and join the program if you're interested. And if you are not someone who would want to join the program, you already have what is the outline of what is going to happen in the program. Do it yourself and learn this yourself. If you join us, of course, this happens much faster. And I hope this seminar helps you to understand what happens in research. And if there are questions now, I would want to take them. In the meanwhile, and for those of you listening to the recorded version of this, I'm going to stop the recording now. If you have any questions, reach out to me directly. And those of you live over here, stay back. If you have questions, I can answer them. Those of you listening to it, the